Hey, it's Kurt at the Top Corner Hockey Studios, Top Corner Hockey on Facebook, Top Corner Kurt on Instagram. Thanks for watching. More than 50 teams have participated in the 100-year history of the NHL. Many of them failed clubs. This is the second part of a series Top Corner Hockey is doing featuring defunct NHL teams. Today we examine the Ottawa Senators. If Ottawa wasn't good at hockey, there's a chance we may have never had a Stanley Cup. It was in 1888 when Governor General Lord Stanley of Preston arrived in Canada and saw the excitement surrounding the game, and he became a fan of hockey. His own enjoyment of hockey and the love the people had for it inspired him to donate the Stanley Cup in 1893. Although Ottawa wouldn't win their first Stanley Cup until 1903, Ottawa did win the Cup an unbelievable 9 times in their early history. The famed Ottawa Silver Seven were full of some of the sport's earliest superstars. One-Eyed Frank McGee, Fred Cyclone Taylor, and Percy LaSueur are all in the Hockey Hall of Fame. This line helped the Silver Seven keep the cup from 1903 until they lost it to the Montreal Wanderers in 1906. Ottawa got the cup back in 1909, lost it, recaptured it again in 1911. When the NHL formed in November of 1917, Ottawa was one of the original 5 teams included. Now, going by the Senators, Ottawa quickly established themselves as the dominant team, boasting stars Clint Benedict in net, scorers Frank Nybor, and Cy Denny. Ottawa easily won the 1919-1920 NHL season, then went west, took care of the PCHL champs, the Seattle Metropolitans, in 5 games to win the Stanley Cup again, Ottawa's 6th. Vancouver and Ottawa would meet again in the 1921 Stanley Cup Finals. An estimated 51,000 people watched the 5-game series. The Senators were victorious again for their 7th Stanley Cup. After losing the Cup in 1922, Ottawa returned to the finals in 1923 and played the Edmonton Eskimos. In Game 2 of the series, King Clancy became the first and only player ever to play every position in one game. Back then, if a goalie received a penalty, he served it himself. So when Clint Benedict was banished to the box, his Senators teammate Clancy tended goal for 2 minutes and did not allow a goal. The Senators easily took care of the Eskimos to win their 3rd Stanley Cup in 4 years. Despite their tremendous success on the ice, NHL expansion into the United States left Ottawa as the smallest market in the league by far, and the club was losing money. The last time the Stanley Cup was in Ottawa was 1927, when the Senators defeated the Boston Bruins. The NHL had taken full control of the Stanley Cup in 1926 after the Western Leagues folded. Ottawa began asking for a larger percentage of the road gate receipts because they were such a big draw. This helped slow their financial bleeding, but even yearly increases in road monies was not enough. Ottawa began selling their best players to rival clubs to help prop themselves up. Ottawa never again would challenge for the Stanley Cup they once held regularly. Even though Toronto bought the NHL's brightest star in King Clancy from Ottawa for the unheard of sum of $35,000 in 1930, it wasn't enough to solve the Senators' financial problems. The Senators suspended action completely for the 1931-32 season, and the players were distributed among the other 7 teams. When Ottawa resumed hockey activity in 1932, they had only gotten worse. The Senators finished dead last 2 years in a row, and the once dominant franchise played their final NHL game on March 15th, 1934. Before coming back in the early 90s, the Ottawa Senators had survived in the NHL for 16 seasons. They won 9 Stanley Cups. Now, 5 of them were prior to the formation of the NHL in 1917, but still easily demonstrates what a terrific hockey franchise Ottawa had at the early stages of hockey. They were a terrific club. Of course, the Ottawa Silver Seven are still very well known. Maybe not the members, but if you mention Ottawa Silver Seven, a lot of people still understand that that was a great team that Ottawa held before 1917. Now that they're back, the closest the Ottawa Senators have come to the Stanley Cup was making it to the finals and losing to Anaheim in 2007. To me, what's interesting is that small market teams like Ottawa back then still having trouble today. You look at the Senators now, they're still a small market club. You look at Winnipeg, small market club. Those teams that had trouble back in the early stages of the NHL in the 1920s and 30s, still having the same problems today financially. Let's hope that somehow these teams can become stable and perhaps Ottawa will return to glory someday. What things do you remember about the Ottawa Senators? Unlike the Montreal Wanderers that we looked at in our first episode, the Ottawa Senators did not disappear. They would move to another city and kick around for a little while longer. We'll find that out in the next episode of Defunct NHL Teams on Top Corner Hockey. I'm Kurt. This is Top Corner Hockey. Thanks for watching. See you next time.